I'm Stephen Hustedde. I'm a professor at South Mountain Community College teaching programming and mobile app development. And you're probably here because you're either enrolled in CS 162 AD, our first C# class, or you simply have an interest in learning C# and you've come across my YouTube channel. So the question you might have is, well, what is C#? And C# is a programming language. You've probably heard of other languages such as Java or Visual Basic, JavaScript, C++, Python. Those are all programming languages. And they allow us to create projects to run on a computer or some type of digital device. C# was developed by Microsoft in the year 2000, and it runs on the .NET framework, which makes it very easy to create applications for the Windows desktop. .NET, though, does expand now beyond other devices or to other devices. We'll use a product called Microsoft Visual Studio, which is known as an IDE. That's the Integrated Development Environment. It simply is the tool that we use to create software using C#. Well, what can I do? Well, the first thing you can do is create console projects. And that's where a lot of people start using C# or learning C#. A lot of instructors teach just the language of C#, and so they teach it in a console or maybe use a command line interface. I don't do that. I think you all want to learn how to create graphical user interfaces. And those graphical user interfaces are simply graphical in nature. They are made up of things like buttons and labels and text boxes and pictures, list boxes. There's all kinds of what we call controls that can be assembled to create a graphical project. Now, there's a couple ways to do that. We're going to use Windows Forms. And Windows Forms have been around for a long time in Visual Studio. It's kind of the old school of creating Windows applications. But it's a really nice interface of developing applications where we can drag and drop controls, such as buttons and labels and picture boxes, onto a form, which is our window, and create the interface graphically. A lot of people use Windows Presentation Foundation, what we call WPF. And there you have to write code to create your interface. I find Windows Forms much easier and a great place to start. And we're going to do Windows Forms from the very beginning because I think it's a lot more fun than creating console applications. And we'll teach you how to program using event-driven techniques in Windows Forms. So we have something that happens when we click on a button. We can also create cross-platform using a product called Xamarin. It's built in now to Visual Studio. Xamarin allows us to create applications using C# that can run on both Android and iOS as well as Windows. It's really a nice cross-platform environment. And we can take those products and install them in the Apple Store or the Google Play Store for Android. We offer a class in Xamarin here at South Mountain as well. Another thing you can do is the Unity gaming framework. And so Unity is a whole other engine that runs in Visual Studio or runs on top of Visual Studio, in which we can create graphical 2D and 3D games, but they are programmed and coded using C#. And finally, we can create web development projects. These can be server-side, they can be client-side. Traditionally, we did this with something called Active Server Pages or ASP.NET. Now there's a newer product that Microsoft's come out with called Blazor. And oftentimes we can do things in the cloud using their Azure cloud service. So lots of stuff we can do with C#. It's a very robust language, very versatile. And here at South Mountain Community College, we offer 3 courses in C#. So the first one is CS 162 AD. It's C# level 1. I'm going to assume coming into this course, if you're a student here, you've never done any programming before. So if you've never done programming, but you're interested in learning how to create applications, particularly for the Windows environment. So 162 AD is strictly Windows development. It's a great place to start. It is a prerequisite then for our other 2 courses. So once you've taken 162 AD, you can then take CS 165 DC, which is our Xamarin cross-platform course where we're developing Android and iOS applications. And you can also take our advanced C# CS 262 AD, where we focus more on object-oriented programming, some web development, and a lot of database projects, as well as more advanced controls for the Windows side. So that's how I teach C# here at South Mountain. Let's talk about CS162 AD. We'll use the college's Canvas site as a way of disseminating information in this course and to manage the course. And you can get there from learn.maricopa.edu. You have to log in with your MEID and your password. You'll find a link to go to the CS162 AD when you log in. You might be taking more than one course. So once you click that, you're going to come to this site. And on the left-hand side is a menu system. So you come into the home to begin with. And I just have a little description here of what you're going to find in these various areas. The syllabus area is where you can download the syllabus for this course. And there's also an Excel spreadsheet. You will also be able to access your assignments here as well. Now these are the assignments for your reflections. The actual assessment projects we're doing will be found in the modules area. Let's take a look at the syllabus first. So here's the syllabus, downloaded as a PDF. A little bit about myself as the instructor, my email, and my office phone. By the way, you'll probably have best success emailing me through Canvas. That'll flag it. If you do email me directly though, please include CS162 AD at the beginning of your subject line. I get a lot of email, like 200 a day, sometimes more than that. It'll help me filter things out, and so it'll be less likely that I miss your emails if there's CS162 at the beginning. Otherwise, our system may filter those out as spam. So again, I recommend doing it, contacting me through Canvas. I'm going to try to set up some tutoring hours each week, and I also do that by appointment as well, but the days and times will probably vary from week to week just because I have so many meetings as the division chair and a lot of other stuff going on. There are no class meetings for this course. It's asynchronous. You're going to do this on your own. I'm going to each week send a checklist out for you of activities to do and projects you need to do, and then at the end of each week you're going to reflect on your learning. There is, however, a final exam at the end of the semester that you do have to take if you want an A or a B in the course. You saw that in Canvas I also provide a grade sheet and a schedule. It's an Excel spreadsheet. There are two tabs. The first tab on the left is the schedule. The second tab is the grade sheet. And there's a whole another video where I think it's 01A1 where I walk through how to use the grade sheet to track your progress. Now in this course, I'm not necessarily having you submit those assignments to be graded, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But it's a good resource to download that and to use that. Again, the schedule's there. The schedule is subject to change, but I've taught this course now for many years, and it's pretty well cast in stone of how the course flows. Information about the course, we're going to focus on using Windows Forms. We're going to talk about properties, methods, and events. Methods also sometimes called functions. It's object-oriented. So those are the parts of the object-oriented aspects. We're going to use controls within the Windows Forms to design our interface. Here are the items that the district says I need to cover. And the prerequisite here is CS 105 or permission of the instructor. I assume you know how to use Windows. You probably should have some experience using, of course, the internet, email, Microsoft Word, and Microsoft Excel. At South Mountain, though, we also look at course level student learning outcomes, what we call CSLOs, and those are sort of the broad umbrella of items that we cover. They really encompass all of these, but a little bit broader, more bird's eye view. And so I have really 4 CSLOs and then kind of a miscellaneous one where we'll talk about some things in terms of like timed animations and random numbers. These are things I think you should know that aren't necessarily part of the course competencies decided at the district. Our course textbook is Tony Gaddis' starting out with Visual, should be Visual C#, not Visual C. And I believe the latest edition is 5th edition. There might be a 6th edition that just came out. Any edition as far as 5th, 6th, or 4th will all work fine. So you can save some money maybe getting an older edition. His textbooks have not changed much over the years. The page numbers changed with a few things added in, but you'll still get the gist. I don't require you to purchase the textbook. It is recommended, though. You will, I think, find it helpful. And I've used Tony Gaddis' text for a long time, like 20 years, on several different programming languages. And I like the way he writes and the way he structures things. Course grading. So there's a video after this called 00B called Going Gradeless. And this is the radical part of this semester. I'm trying something new in that I'm not going to grade your projects. You will not get a grade for any assessment projects that I have you work on. There's 28 projects you do in this course. Rather, what I would like you to do is focus on learning and not focus on the grades. So I want you to reflect on your learning each week, but I still want you to do those projects. But if you have trouble with the projects, it's not going to bring your grade down. We're going to talk about learning and mastering the content. So you can read through all of this of how I structure this, and be sure to watch that video. Each week, though, you will have a weekly reflection to do of how you think you're learning. And as I said, there's a final exam at the end. There's also a final project. If you want an A, you must do the final project, which is you simply designing your own project using the things you've learned this semester. I want you to apply what you've learned and go beyond the scope of the projects I have you do. And then your final grade is there's a form I will have you fill out where you're going to request your final grade of A, B, C, or you can do a D or W. And then you and I will talk about that submission as far as what your final grade will be. The final grade really is going to be based on your learning and not on your projects, other than if you want to get an A or B, you must pass the final exam, and if you want an A, you must do that final project. Again, as far as communication, make sure you label all your messages as either C# or CS162AD. That will help me triage your emails and make sure they don't get filtered out as spam. Each week I'll send a weekly checklist out of activities for you to do and projects to work on. I would suggest you go through those checklists item by item in the order that I present them. That'll be your best success in this course. The software we'll be using is Visual Studio 2020 Community Edition, or you can use the older Visual Studio 2019. That will also work. There's not a lot of difference between the two in terms of this class. You can download Visual Studio free from www.visualstudio.com. There's also in Canvas in the Getting Started module, there is some instructions on how to install and what to include. This is an asynchronous class, so there's not really attendance requirements, but you do need to manage your time. And so basically the federal government says a 3-credit course with a lab should take you about 8.3 hours per week over a 16-week semester. We're actually doing this in 14 weeks, so figure 8.5 hours per week, maybe 9 hours per week. There is a lab available in the Technology Center, and I have it's currently closed. So that's actually wrong. It is open. That was from last semester. Sorry about that. You may work in teams. You're welcome to help each other. I encourage you to form study groups and help each other. Coding is often done in teams, and so I want to encourage you to work in teams if you can and learn from each other, help each other master. When you submit your weekly reflection, I expect you to be honest and upfront. Cheating is any form of dishonesty in an academic exercise, so if you're not honest with me in your weekly reflections, that misrepresentation can result in course failure, or even worse, which would be probation, suspension, or expulsion. All the materials you see here are copyrighted by me. I developed this course. I try to give you very unique experiences based on my knowledge. And so I don't have you really working through a textbook. So I say the textbook's sort of recommended, not required. Try to give you real world projects to work on. That is my intellectual property. Please do not post it elsewhere. I've had students in the past put that up on places to get help. Please do not do that. Information here on disability resources. You can contact DRS if you have a disability, and we'll make accommodations. And just a few more things to be aware of as far as your rights and so forth. So that's our syllabus. Let's take a look at that spreadsheet. Here's the spreadsheet I provided in the syllabus area of Canvas. There are 2 tabs here. The first tab presents the planned schedule for the semester. Week by week, you'll see the dates, the week number, the topics we'll cover, the competencies that are covered. That's from the syllabus area. I do a lot of YouTube videos, so I give links here or information about the YouTube videos you'll watch that week. Suggested reading out of the Gradebook, and then finally the assessment or assignments I have you work on that week. Some of these I walk you through step by step in videos, and all you do is follow my video, pause, do the things in Visual Studio as you watch that video, and others I provide content in videos and then have you apply that content in the projects. One thing I'm doing differently this semester, since I don't have you submit those videos, I'm going to try to do more videos in terms of walking you through my solution on everything, so you can learn from me if you get stuck. But I'm going to encourage you to try to do a lot of these projects on your own, as if this was kind of a normal grading situation. And if you get stuck, then look at my other videos that will walk you through. In some cases, I might give you PDFs of my code and so forth. But this is a hands-on course. You cannot learn coding without actually doing coding. So just be aware of that. Just watching the videos are not going to do it. You've got to actually get your hands dirty and play around with Visual Studio and code. That's how you will learn the content and master the content, which will allow you to get an A or a B or a C in this course. The second item here is the gradebook that I used to use. And all assignments are aligned to those CSLOs that I showed you in the syllabus. Some projects early on are only worth 1 point because they align to one SLO. As we scroll down those, we get into more projects, and the last one being the video poker project. Notice it's worth 10 points. It covers all the different SLOs. And what I would do in the past is there was targets for each of these SLOs. You didn't have to get all the points. There was basically extra credit built in, but there's a little button here to calculate scores. All you need to do is, as you create these and you think you've earned those points, you're going to self-assess, is you would simply come in here and click on the point cell and highlight that in yellow, as I've done here for the entrance survey, and then you click your calculate scores, and it's going to show you what your score is and the percentage you've gotten over the course of the semester. As I said, there's a video on how to use this. Make sure you watch that if you'd like to track your scores. This can also be a great tool for recommending what grade you think you should get. I'm going to jump back over to Canvas. So in Canvas, there's the modules area. There's a getting started module, information on how to install Visual Studio 2019. It's basically going to apply to the 2022 version as well. There's not a lot of difference there. But you might look at that PDF and the things I have you install as part of Visual Studio. There's a link here to my YouTube playlist. We're going to just click that. So here's the YouTube playlist. Right now there's 162 videos. That is for the C# cohort, which includes Xamarin and the advanced CIS 262. There's probably about 100 videos here that relate to our CS 162 course. And they are all numbered, such as 01A. So just pointing out here, here's the video on going gradeless. Here's the, this was the intro to the cohort. I don't have you watch that because we're not doing the cohort. But here's that video on how to track your grades using that spreadsheet. And then we talk about programming introduction, building with objects, planning a project, and so forth. Most of these videos are anywhere from 8 to about 15 minutes in length, but there are a few that are longer, particularly where I'm walking you through a project. I also have a PDF cheat sheet here that you can download. It's what I use a lot of times since I program in a lot of different languages. I don't necessarily memorize how do I create an array in this language versus that language. So I will use my cheat sheet just as a quick reference tool. I do Google a lot too to find information, and I would highly encourage you to Google information as a developer. There's also another little C# book out here that's free. It's really on the C# language. It's not so much on the GUI aspects of creating forms and using those controls, but more on coding. And then additional information here that you might find helpful along the course. So each week I'm going to send out a checklist. So here's our first checklist. I'm going to open this up as a PDF. So for the checklist, I'm going to tell you what the topics are we're covering that week. Now this first week there's a lot of material. So you're going to need to plan on probably at least 8 hours to get through the material. And the next week's might be a little bit lesser than that. There's a lot of material to get to the foundation of creating some applications. So then I give a checklist of what you should do as far as learning projects. I'm going to encourage you to use this, print it out, and make check marks if you like. But go through these items in order. So there's a lot of videos for you to watch. I try to tell you how long each video is. There's a link here in the PDF. You can click on that link and go right to that video. Some things you're going to do along the way. You're going to install Visual Studio. You're going to walk through this project of Simple Calculator where I kind of walk you through the workflow of how to create an application. It's a little more of an advanced project than we would probably start out with. It's not so much teaching you coding as it is teaching you the process we use for creating an application. More videos that are going to relate to two additional projects this week, one of which is college colors, and the other one is corporate logos. Again, complete those, and then complete your self-assessment. And that self-assessment is what you're going to submit. You're not going to submit your assignments. You're going to submit that self-assessment. Again, I'm not grading anything. I want to have a dialogue on how you're learning and help you learn better. The one thing you do need to do this week, though, as you're starting out, is make sure you do the entrance survey by the first Wednesday of the week. So that's going to be, I got 1/20/2021. That's obviously wrong. This should be February 2nd, 2022. And then submit your self-assessment. I'll get that fixed up in terms of this checklist before I make it available to you. So you get a checklist each week. And then back in Canvas, you have your weekly reflections. And so you can download the first week's reflection, fill it out, and that's what you're going to submit. The 3 projects you're going to do this week, they're listed here under the assignment projects with the instructions. These are all PDFs. And they will walk you through what's required, how they align, and so forth. And I talk about those a little bit in the Going Gradeless video. And some projects will have some data needs. So you're going to have some logos for both the college colors and the corporate info projects. You can download those as zip files and unzip them and use those logos in your project to complete it. And then also give you sample executables here. If you want to run the project and see what it looks like so you get a better feel for how this thing should work, I will make those executables available over the course of the semester. Right now I only have the first week in here. I'm redoing this website a lot, but you're going to see this grow with more and more stuff added over the course of the semester. That's kind of the course in a nutshell. The biggest thing I can say is have fun and help each other and learn. And at the end, hopefully you will be very confident in creating Windows Forms applications with C#. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the C# Xamarin Programming Cohort playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos that I create, you can click my picture up in the top right and subscribe to the channel.